Wondery Plus subscribers can listen to Morbid early and ad-free. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts.
You're listening to a Morbid Network podcast.
Redacted, Declassified Mysteries is a new podcast hosted by me, Luke LaManna. Each week, I dive into the hidden truths behind the world's most powerful institutions, from covert government experiments to bizarre assassination attempts. Follow Redacted on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey weirdos, I'm Ash.
And I'm Elena.
And this is Morbid.
This is morbid.
Everything about this episode is going to be morbid. Elena and I have just sat here for the past 30 minutes going through everything going on right now with this missing persons case.
Yes. So you may have seen, I know we both shared it. A lot of people have been sharing it. There was this, so there's this case of these two kids, Noah Claire and Amber Claire. And they were taken from Tennessee and Kentucky by a family member, Jake Claire. When I first saw this, I was like, what the heck? Because it just seems...
Immediately.
Yeah. And it's been going on for a while. Now there's clear and imminent danger involved. It's a really scary case. So I just really want to get you guys up to speed on this because they have not found these kids yet. And they are in actual danger. So I want to get this out there. We're talking about Jake Claire, who is 35 years old. He's believed to have abducted his 3-year-old son, Noah Claire, from Gallatin, Tennessee. And he's also suspected of abducting his 16-year-old niece, Amber Claire, from Kentucky. Now, Noah's biological mother, Amanda Ennis, had dropped him off for a visit with his father, Jake. That was on Friday, November 5th.
Yeah.
Which I didn't realize it was that long ago.
No.
They had an every other weekend kind of arrangement with the father. And when he was supposed to bring him back on Sunday, November 7th, he never did. Now, the entire time that little 3-year-old Noah was with Jake, he had stopped, the both of them had stopped responding or communicating with Amanda, the mother. She was getting nervous. She wasn't hearing from them, wasn't able to get in contact with them. So she tried to get help because she's a mother. And nobody would do anything. They basically told her it's Jake's weekend with him. Mm-hmm. He can do what he wants.
Yeah. If you believe that your child is in imminent danger and no matter if he's on custody or not, can we just go do a welfare check?
Well, and it's also okay, he's not responding.
Right.
That's a problem. When you're co-parenting, you both need to know where your child is at all times. That's just something that needs to happen.
And is that not is that not what you would do? Is a welfare check?
To me, it sounds like this is out of the ordinary. Mm-hmm. So for her to say they don't do this, he doesn't just go incommunicado with me. It doesn't happen. This is concerning. That should be looked into. If it's if this is not something that's always done, if he's always one that just cuts off communication during his visits,
right?
Okay, I understand that sucks.
But clearly there was something that happened here that made her feel anxious about it.
Yeah,
and that's her child. So go check on him.
I feel for this family so my heart is breaking for them now. So they were unable to do anything. But when it came time for him to be dropped off, and he didn't drop him off, that's when they could finally move. No, Amanda's quoted as saying, this is the mother of Noah. She said, quote, "I immediately start freaking out. I call my family. We try to contact the police and they wouldn't do anything for us because it was Jake's time with Noah. So it wasn't until Sunday at 6 p.m. when Jake was supposed to bring Noah back that they could really do anything. They had police cars there waiting. I had my family there with me waiting and he never showed up."
I can't imagine how she felt sitting wherever she was waiting for her baby to be brought back to her.
No, this is just really just breaking my heart. I can't imagine this. And Amber, 16-year-old Amber Claire, also went missing from her home in Kentucky. Now, her mother, Jamie Bravada, said, quote, "I can't handle it as much, so I end up crying and send her a message on Messenger just hoping she sees it. We're searching for her, waking up in the morning and trying to find her." She was initially labeled as a runaway. And they said that she ran away willingly because they claimed from notes that she left that seemed like she was going somewhere. But she's now labeled as a missing and endangered child, so that's important. An Amber Alert was not issued for Noah until November 16th, Tuesday of this week.
So 10 days after he went missing, essentially.
Now, even more disturbingly, it appears that family members have spoken to the media and said they believe that Jake, the uncle of Amber, was grooming her in some way. The notes that they're referring to were like a little disturbing. They were just like a little like, what's going on here? And family believe that they might not have been even written by Amber. And they might have even been coached for her to write by Jake. So something's happening. He was definitely grooming in some way, or at least manipulating her in some way that they saw, and they are concerned. Now, he was also kind of like a survivalist, an outdoorsman.
Yeah.
It's weird that we've seen a couple of cases with this kind of scenario. Jake is 6'7", so he's a big guy.
He's a giant.
And he's 180 pounds to 200 pounds, somewhere in there.
And he's like well built.
Yeah,
like,
he's a strong dude. He's a tall guy, so he's very hard to miss. You're going to be able to see him. He has blue or hazel eyes, brown hair. He has very distinctive tribal tattoos on his left arm and shoulder, and they're big, very out there. And his right arm also has another distinctive tattoo. On his right forearm, he has Claire, C-L-A-R-E, tattooed on it. Now, police have issued 2 active arrest warrants for custodial interference on him, and this has also been upgraded to an especially aggravated kidnapping, which is important because this can only be issued if the child is in imminent danger of serious bodily injury or death. So this is serious. This needs to be like,
we need to find them.
Red alert. Now, little Noah Claire, who is 3 years old, he's 3 feet tall, 5 inches. He's 40 pounds with blue eyes and brown, like curly, adorable hair.
He's adorable.
He was last seen wearing gray sweatpants, a camo shirt, black jacket, and black shoes. Amber Claire is 16 years old. She's 5'7", about 140 pounds, green eyes, darker, dirty blonde hair. She is diagnosed with epilepsy and left home without her seizure medication, which is really bad and something she would likely not do in her own volition.
Right.
She's thought to have a cell phone, though. They don't know for sure, but they're thinking she has a cell phone, which is why her mother is saying she's messaging her, trying to get her attention. Now, he had been spotted, Jake, in a 2005 silver Subaru Legacy with Tennessee plates, 42MY10. And it had like bumper stickers all over it initially, like covered with them.
Yeah.
He took those off, which is very unsettling to me.
Terrifying in and of itself.
But recent developments are that car has actually been found. So Tuesday, November 16th, so just this week, just yesterday, it was located abandoned in San Clemente, California. Now, disturbingly, it's clear children had been in this car.
There was a car seat.
There was a car seat. There were instant meals, instant milk inside. I mean, a ton of camping gear, things of that nature. I mean, piled up, blocking the back window.
Yeah,
so
like
much stuff.
Filthy, this car is.
And the car itself was filthy, caked in dirt and mud, and all of it was left in the car.
Yeah.
Like the meals, everything.
So I'm like, are they on foot, or did he have like some kind of connection to get another
that's
car?
What I'm worried.
Like,
I'm
that's
just
where
so
this
worried.
whole thing gets super weird.
And Amber's mother said, quote, "If Jake was watching this, he needs to just step up and do the right thing and bring them home. He's not going to be able to take care of them forever." And I hate these things so much. Like, I hate them so much. First of all, I'm just like, my heart is breaking for these mothers and these families, and just like not knowing. And to hear that it's been upgraded to like, you know, these kids are in imminent danger of serious bodily harm or death is, I don't know how they're.
And it said because of recent developments, and it didn't obviously specify what those developments are, but I can't even imagine.
I'm so. I just like, it's breaking my heart. It's like killing me. It's like, you know, certain cases just like jump out and grab you. And then when you see it, and this was just one of those, it's like the Summer Wells thing that just like, you're just
And in the same jurisdiction.
Yeah, which is strange. And it seems like the Amber Alerts got screwed up, and there was, they were requiring certain criteria for it, and it was just delaying things. And
I think we need a revamp on that criteria.
When a kid is missing, who gives if they are a runaway and you end up with egg on your face because you put an Amber Alert out for a runaway?
Why wouldn't you just do that?
I'd rather overreact than underreact. Just
especially
overreact.
In these situations, you don't know.
Overreact every time. And have egg on your face every single time. I will never fault a police department for overreacting to a missing child and finding out that they did it themselves.
Well, and they wouldn't even put the Amber Alert out for 3-year-old little Noah. So it's like, what criteria do I need? My 3-year-old is missing and I can't get into contact with his father. Why is that not criteria enough?
This is a very frustrating one, and it's like really bothering me. I'm just so hoping that this has a happy ending. It's like,
I really hope so.
Everything in me is hoping for a happy ending, but please keep an eye out. If you were in the California area, or if you were in that area, the San Clemente area,
you cannot miss this guy.
You can't miss him. Look out for those tribal tattoos. They are hard for him to cover up.
Yes. Look out for little Noah. He's got beautiful curly hair.
Yep, little curly haired boy. This guy's 6'7". Look at, and if you go on any of our social medias, we've posted photos of them too. So please look out for them. I'm just really hoping that like enough people can get these kids home to their families, because it's breaking my heart when you watch those poor mothers, especially. We just watched an interview with Amanda, Noah's mother, and she was just breaking down, like just saying like, I just want to give her please a hug. Don't hurt my baby. And it's just, I keep thinking my youngest is 2. Yeah. And he's only less than a year older than my youngest. And I'm like, he needs so much.
They need so much.
Like he requires so much, and you can't give it to him when you're on the run. Like give him back to his mom. Like it's just like,
and that's the thing. Like it doesn't matter your differences with his mother. Yeah. Guys, both of you love him.
Yeah.
So hopefully
just, like,
Jacob does.
Do something to that kid.
You both love him. Like give him back.
Just give him back, man. Like
do the right thing.
Differences, like nothing is worth this. Like,
no.
And you just hope like he does the right thing. So everybody be on the lookout for that. If you see them, let me give you a place where you can inform that you have seen them. Hold, please. Anyone with information on Amber Claire or Noah Claire's whereabouts, please contact the Gallatin Police Department at 615-451-3838 or the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations at 1-800-TBI-FIND, FIND.
Yes.
So make sure that you contact those if you have any information or spot them. And hopefully we will see them home and unharmed very shortly.
I really hope so.
Because this sucks. So
big time.
We are thinking of their families. And that's with that horrifying beginning to this case, we're going to go into more horrifying stuff. So I'm sorry, I really don't have a lot of
Listen, we told
fluffy
you in the beginning,
segues.
It's morbid.
This is definitely a morbid one, but we both felt it was really important to get that out because it's been bothering us big time.
Hotshot Australian attorney Nicola Gaba was born into legal royalty. Her specialty? Representing some of the city's most infamous gangland criminals. However, while Nicola held the underworld's darkest secrets, the most dangerous secret was her own.
She's going to all the major groups within Melbourne's underworld, and she's informing on them all.
I'm Marcia Clark, host of the new podcast, Informants Lawyer X. In my long career in criminal justice as a prosecutor and defense attorney, I've seen some crazy cases, and this one belongs right at the top of the list.
She was addicted to the game she had created. She just didn't know how to stop.
Now, through dramatic interviews and access, I'll reveal the truth behind one of the world's most shocking legal scandals. Listen to Informants Lawyer X exclusively on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, and listen to more Exhibit C true crime shows early and ad-free right now.
In a quiet suburb, a community is shattered by the death of a beloved wife and mother. But this tragic loss of life quickly turns into something even darker. Her husband had tried to hire a hitman on the dark web to kill her. And she wasn't the only target. Because buried in the depths of the internet is the kill list, a cache of chilling documents containing names, photos, addresses, and specific instructions for people's murders. This podcast is the true story of how it ended up in a race against time to warn those whose lives were in danger. And it turns out, convincing a total stranger someone wants them dead is not easy. Follow Kill List on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Kill List and more Exhibit C true crime shows like Morbid early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus. Check out Exhibit C in the Wondery app for all your true crime listening.
Now, we're going to go back to talking about William Bonin. Which I'm sorry. I'm sorry we're going to do that.
Yeah, thank you for that.
I apologize. It's not something I want to do. Now, when we last talked about this dillweed, he was...
He is a dillweed.
Yeah, he truly is. He was working with at least 3 other dillweeds, which is wild.
Yeah,
that
Butts and Pew.
Yeah, just Butts and Pew. Butts, Pew, and Miley. So... he had, at this point, convinced William Billy Pugh, who was 19 years old, to do this with him. He also had convinced Vernon Butts, who was 22 years old, and Gregory Miley, who was 19 years old.
And how old is William at this point?
In 1979, he was like 32.
Oh, okay.
So, because he was born in 47, I think. So, he was in his early 30s, so it's not like he's like... 60 or something,
yeah,
you know, like, but it's still like he's hanging out with like 19-year-olds, like getting them to like come over and watch porn with him. Like, that's not
bizarre.
Okay. That's not all right. But I just wanted to start this out too with a quote from William.
Oh, goody.
That I think sums up who he is as a person.
Awesome.
He said, quote, "Most people are overconfident of their value on this planet. Most people can be done without." Wow, sir.
That's so dark.
Yeah. And I think that really just sums him up. Like, that's literally William Bonin right there.
Wow.
And when we last talked, we were talking about how crazy it was that the police were like, I don't think this is a serial killer.
Astounding.
Dozens of young boys have been killed in the same way and dumped.
And there's like ligatures left
in the same area with ligatures. Yeah. But nah, I don't think so. And I think the reporters actually had it right in this, especially the reporter J.J. Maloney for the Orange County Register, when he said, it seems like the police, and he was like, and I can't say I blame them, but they don't want the pressure that comes around with saying that there's a serial killer and having to solve that. Like, once you say a serial killer is out there, you better start moving because the clock is tick, 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 because people want him off the streets.
Obviously.
But the thing is, people are going to catch on. Because they are going to keep reporting these deaths.
People are going to put
people are going to be like,
together.
hey, is this the same person? And you can't keep telling them, no, there's no evidence of that. Because they're going to be like, but I see the evidence with my eyes.
They're like,
so
but 2 plus 2 does equal 4.
Yeah.
So
I think when we last talked, we said that it was J.J. Maloney who kind of like busted it open by publishing a story where he basically called out the police department and was like, you need to stop being scared of the public scrutiny that comes along with this
and actually
say
handle
it's a serial killer.
And they were pissed, right?
And yeah, because they were the ones that called him the Freeway Killer in that newspaper. And actually it ends up that there's the Freeway Killers. But the police, like we said, were pissed. And one of the captains on the police department, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, said, I believe it was the Orange County Register that started all this. This has built up and created a lot of fear about a killer or group of killers. And there is no evidence substantiating any of that. Now, at this point, the press had Bonin feeling like a rock star.
Of course.
He loved it. He loved that he was noticed. In fact, he would go through and cut out any article that was about him, and he would put it in a scrapbook that he kept in his van.
Wow.
In the glove compartment.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. He had a literal scrapbook of all of his cases.
It's like that the movie that we just watched together with Leto.
Oh, The Little Things.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's him.
Just like that.
I know. You wonder if they like took little bits and pieces from different cases.
Yeah.
Because that's definitely, I mean, I know that the Hillside Stranglers like to keep certain like little scraps
I was going to say.
there. So
it happens a lot.
Because they love it.
And it's one of those things.
Look at all of them. They love that shit.
Oh, yeah. And it's one of those things, too, that you see in the movies and you're like, do they really do that?
Yeah, you're like,
And
no.
they really do
But they
that.
really are that stupid. And
Like, they're definitely jacking off to those, like, clips.
Oh,
and
for
it's
sure.
so weird.
That's what they get off on. That everybody is freaking. They love the panic and the fear that they're causing.
And that they're the ones
Yeah,
causing
they're
it.
terrorizing. They love it. Now, April 11th, 16-year-old Stephen Wood was found dumped in an alley. So this is after the newspaper articles came out. It was near the Pacific Coast Highway. He had been abducted after a dentist appointment, and he was raped, beaten, and murdered. And the last thing he said to his mother that day was, "See you later, alligator."
Oh, stop it.
And his mom said, she said, "In a while, crocodile." And that
she
was the last
did.
thing they said. Now, this is really sad because his older brother ended up killing himself on Bonin's birthday 9 years later.
Whoa.
He was so devastated by what happened to his little brother, he couldn't get over it.
Oh.
And it's like really sad because
That's horrible.
these things don't just affect like the immediate people involved. It's like,
No, they
these
affect
cause
everybody in the family.
just ripple effects and tidal waves that go out so far to everybody in their lives, and they don't care.
Because it's one thing to lose your brother. Like, that in and of
Yeah.
itself is horrific and terrible. Then to lose your brother at the hands of a sadistic serial killer who raped and tortured him. How do you ever move on
Reconcile
from
that.
that? Like,
Yeah.
what are the stages of grief involved with that?
And yeah, because that's the thing. It's like to know that he suffered.
That
And
immensely.
that he was in fear and that you weren't there to help him, even though, of course, you couldn't be there. But like as an older sibling, you always feel like you want to protect your siblings, you
Yeah.
know, like, or as a parent, you always want to protect your children. To know that there was a moment where you couldn't protect them from the monster
can't
under their
imagine.
bed that came to life.
Right.
Like, I can't even wrap my brain around it. Now, that was April 11th. April 29th, Darren Lee Kendrick, who was 19 years old, was abducted when he was promised drugs by Bonin and Vernon Butts.
Mm-hmm.
So they were in the car together. Vernon was definitely the like one that was with him the most.
Yeah,
during
it seems
these.
like that.
Now, Darren had it particularly bad. He was raped, beaten, and killed, but he also suffered a different kind of torture. He had a stab wound to his spinal cord with an ice pick.
Oh, my God.
The ice pick was stabbed into his ear. Yeah. He also had chemical burns on his mouth, throat, chest, and stomach and face from being forced to drink hydrochloric acid.
What?
Yes. Which sounds like the Hillside Strangler.
It does. It's
Or
like they
like-
were just like trying different
Like
things.
experimenting.
Right.
Like, and from everything I read, it seems like everybody who knew Bonin, like these guys who did this with him, said he loved it and he wanted it to get worse and worse every
Because he
time.
said the more that they screamed,
Yeah.
like the more
fun
he
he
was
enjoyed
for
it.
him.
Yeah. Now, his mother, Bonin's mother, moved into his apartment with him at this time. Because remember, he had moved out to his own apartment.
Oh, yeah.
She moved in with him again, but this didn't stop him. Like, it didn't slow him down. Nothing.
Not shocked.
He just brought people back to hurt them, you know, with her at the house. She was there.
Stop.
Who knows if what she knew or what she heard or what she didn't hear, but...
Well, she's an abusive piece too.
I mean, I was going to say she's the piece who sent him
She,
to
like, created
live
this.
with a literal known pedophile and like abuser of children.
and
so-
they like beat their children regularly.
Oh yeah.
So
And didn't like feed them, didn't do anything. So
yeah,
it's like
so whatever. She sucks.
I can't exactly think that she was just like, "Oh no, what?
Oh,
I
how
had
terrible."
no idea." But whatever. Now, at this time, he began like a kind of relationship with a boy, an 18-year-old named Lawrence Sharp. And for a while, Lawrence was staying at the apartment with him.
No, was it like a friendship or was it more like a
I think there was
romantic-
a relationship involved,
Okay.
at least. That's what all sources say. They seemed fine. They seemed like normal. People who saw them said that everything seemed fine, like despite the age difference.
Yeah.
But William said he just woke up one day and decided that he was tired of him.
Uh-huh.
And so instead of, I don't know, breaking up with him and asking him to move out of the house, he said, quote, "I just got up one morning and decided I was tired of him. I just got tired of having him around, and so I decided I should kill him."
No.
And so he did. He did kill him. He killed Lawrence Sharp, and he dumped him into a trash can sometime in April or May of that year.
This guy's a monster.
He is so scary.
Like the disregard that he just has. He is
And he had no remorse till the very end. Nothing. Through right up to the point they stuck that needle inside of him.
Didn't
he
give
was
a
like, I
shit.
literally don't give a shit.
He very much was created, though.
Oh, he
That's
was
the
a
thing
destroyed
here.
human being. Like, there was no humanity in this guy.
Like, I don't feel bad for the adult, but I feel bad for the child.
Yeah, you always feel bad for the child. But then the adult, you're like, no.
Right.
I
Like,
can't.
you need to get some counseling and work
Something's
through
gotta
this
give here.
and not murder people.
And I mean, during his trial, even the lawyers were like, yeah, you can blame it on child. Of course, there's clear evidence. Nobody can argue that he had not a horrific childhood.
Right.
And that he was severely damaged by it.
But he knows the difference between right and wrong.
And they said people have gone through even worse.
Of
and they
course
don't
they
grow
have.
up to rape and abduct and torture and murder young boys. It's just
Absolutely.
not an excuse. Like, it just doesn't,
I
you
mean,
can't say it.
we just covered the case of Nona, and she
Yeah.
was
She was
abused
sexually
as a
abused by her
child,
father.
and she turned it around.
Exactly. And she turned it into a thing where she was helping other people.
Which is
She was-
exactly what you can do.
Yeah, she was turning it into like a positive thing where she was going to show people that they didn't have to deal with this.
Right.
Now, finally around this time is when the police were like, you know what? We might have a serial killer on our hands.
Oh my gosh, you don't say, guys.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Because they were
Crazy.
like, you know what?
Wild.
Yeah, nuts. They were like, he's starting to strike at least once every 2 weeks.
Jesus
at least.
Christ.
He was pow, 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 pow.
That is the scariest
Yeah.
thing. I can't imagine like being a young boy living in that. It's literally just like
Oh, yeah.
John Wayne Gacy, like people like young
Yes.
boys in Chicago, because Drew's dad literally
Yeah.
lived in Chicago
That's
at that
wild.
point in time, was John Wayne Gacy's like target victim age, and he told us, he was like, it was so scary.
It must have
around
been
that
so
time.
strange. It's like during the Boston Strangler
Ma.
case, my mom was literally living in an apartment in Boston.
You could open with a credit card.
with 3 other girls, and their lock was busted because they were just like starving artists at the time. And she said
So
you could
cool.
literally open the door with like a credit card, like just kind of like
Jimmy
scoot
it
it
in
in there
there.
and jimmy it open. And then they would also like stack up glass bottles in front of the doors as their makeshift alarm system. So
Right.
if he tried to get in the door, they would at least hear him.
And like have like a little head start.
And she was like, yeah, it was scary, but like, you just live. And I was like, Ma, are you kidding me? Like,
Ma's
what?
had like we've said it before and we'll say it again. Ma needs to be on the show
She
because
really
some of
does.
the that woman has lived through,
and she's just
including
like,
us,
"Eh."
to be honest.
Yeah, you know, I know, right? She's lived through all of us.
Plus
But-
many other things.
Yeah, it's at once every 2 weeks this was happening. They were finding bodies in this scenario. And,
That is wild.
and at this point, there was like the Sunset Strip murders going on, the Hillside Strangler, the trash bag murders. There's all kinds of shit. Like, California was wilding at this point.
as soon as you said that, I
imagine
just
it.
heard the intro to California Love in my head.
It was not California.
It was
Love.
not.
It was California Terror.
California is really scary.
Yeah, it was really scary then. So the various places he was dumping bodies all finally got together, all the jurisdictions, because that
Good.
was part of the problem too, is different jurisdictions.
They
it's
don't mesh
tough
well.
for them to come together.
Good for them though. Okay,
It's
they
tough.
finally did it.
Because I was going to say, it's tough for them all to put those big, heavy egos to the side.
Seriously.
And start being like, hey, maybe we should save some lives instead of swinging our dicks around. So finally, they got together. And they were
Just picture like multiple police departments like, whoa!
That's literally what it was. And finally, they were like, let's put those things away and let's get together and actually look at the evidence and, I don't know, save some children from being murdered. That
Yeah,
would be a
like
great
maybe
idea.
that's what we should do.
So they did. They pooled their evidence in an effort to stop this. And they created a task force, like they always do, that focuses on this. And they were ready. They're like, let's catch this freeway killer. Now, luckily, they did run into a little bit of luck because William Pugh, one of his accomplices there, tried to steal a car on May 29th, 1980.
Of course he did.
And he got caught.
Good.
Uh-oh.
Dumbass.
While he was waiting for trial, he saw that there was on the news, he saw that there was another body found. And he knew it was the freeway killer. He knew it was his friend William Bonin.
So he's gonna
So
try
he's
and
like,
get out of this.
hey, lawyer, I know who did that. And they were like, excuse me? And he was like, yeah, it's William Bonin. I can tell you everything you want to know. So he didn't implicate himself.
I was gonna say.
But he said, hey, like, I know who it is. If you give me a better deal, I can tell you everything.
But here's my question. So you got a better deal on this charge. but like they are going to find out that you were involved in all of this. So then you don't get a plea deal for that as well. But you might if you talk.
But I don't really know how many neurons are collectively firing between all of these guys.
2.5, I'd
like
say,
so I
give or
think
take.
this is just like one that went and it's
One
just
that went pew.
Yeah, it went pew.
Literally, it went pew in Pew's brain.
And so he was like, hey, like I can tell you stuff, just, you know, let's.
So it's like, you think you're going to get a drop charge here, but what do you think is going to happen when they find out that you too are raping and killing these young boys?
To me, it doesn't seem like William Pugh is like a big picture guy. I think he's more of a day-to-day guy. I think he's that day-to-day guy that you just say, like, what's on the docket for today? And he's like, don't know, but I'll figure it out.
Wow.
You can't ask him what's on the docket for tomorrow. He doesn't know.
You got to figure it out, son.
So he didn't, though. So the LAPD detective John St. John interviewed him.
John St. John.
That's great. Who doesn't love a John?
Me.
You know?
I hate all Johns.
I love a John.
I love a John.
But he told this detective that William Bonin had confessed to him. He said he confessed to me that he did all this.
Uh-huh.
And he said he had also told him that he was, this was true. He said not only had he confessed to me when we were in the car together, but he actually told me that he had been planning to kill me the night that he met me, which he did.
Oh
he
my
told
God.
him, I was planning on killing you, but then like I decided you could probably like, you know, somebody saw me leave the party with you, so I would have been caught. Like literally told him that, and he was like, ah, and then he was like, you want to kill people with me? And he was like, sure.
Yeah.
So he actually, and William Bonin admitted that. He was like, I literally told William Pugh that I planned to kill him that night, and I absolutely did. But people saw me leave that party with him, and I'm not about that.
Wow. And like, that's like a power move in the
scariest way possible.
The most terrifying way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then, of course, you're going to do those things with him, because if not, he might just kill you later.
Of course. So you are kind of just, you have to at that point. And William Bonin was, like we said, his IQ was high. He was a smart guy.
Yeah, it was like 122.
Yeah,
right?
it was higher. So he's definitely an above average intelligence, and you can see it, unfortunately, because he did go to great lengths to make sure he didn't get caught. He didn't leave a lot of things behind. He was pretty careful to make sure nobody saw him with these boys before that's why he didn't kill William Pugh, because he said people saw me leave the party. Whether somebody would bring that up later, I don't know, but I'm not taking the chance.
Right.
Now, he tells this detective, you know, this is what he told me. He confessed everything else to me. And what's crazy is that this particular detective, John St. John, I love that name, had taken a tip from someone who claimed they actually lived nearby to William Bonin. And the neighbor had called a tip line earlier and mentioned his name and said, I think he was responsible for some of these. I heard some screaming in his house, but I didn't know if it was kids playing.
Right.
Because, you know, it's a neighborhood.
Yeah.
And again, always just overreact, everybody.
And good for them. They called.
They called the tip line. But
Good
it's
job.
just like, and I understand that like sometimes it's hard. You hear something and you're like, was that innocuous or was that scary? You know, like sometimes you're like, was that a scream or was that an animal?
Well, and then the thing is that there are cases where like you call and like sometimes they make you feel dumb because they're like,
absolutely, because they're like, okay, like man, and you're
right.
like, okay, well, and that's on them. Like that's on some. You need to be better at your job.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's like don't just let people overreact.
Exactly.
It's better to overreact than underreact.
have we not learned that thus far?
Yeah, for
Is that not
real.
the theme of this entire fucking podcast?
Nobody's gonna get mad at you for I'm not gonna get mad at you for overreacting to like child murder.
No, I don't.
I'm not.
I don't even think you can overreact.
I'm never
to
gonna
child
get mad at
murder.
you for that. I'm gonna get real salty at you for underreacting.
Correct.
So just know
that's
that.
just my new thing. I'm
know
just gonna
that
say
going
correct
forward
when you say things.
Correct.
Correct.
Now, the same month, May 1980, he had someone come live with him again. So
No,
after he
don't do
killed
that.
Lawrence Sharp, he had another boy come live with him. This is 18-year-old James Monroe.
Also, going back to that, was his mom not like, "Hey, what happened to your roommate"?
Oh, I don't think she gives a
No,
shit.
she doesn't. But like, just worth mentioning.
That's just my feeling about Alice. But they began a relationship, James and William. And Bonin, at some point that month, confessed to him everything and said, "This is what I've done." And he said, "Do you want to come with me and start abducting, raping, and murdering young boys together?"
I do not.
And James was like, "Yeah, I do." So
this has now found the fourth human being that wants to do this with him.
yeah.
Okay.
And just by being like, hey, Can I tell you something?
Like, it's crazy in these cases when they have one person that wants to do that with them.
But
4 people that are like, yeah, I will abduct, rape, torture, and murder young children with you. Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
What is going on, California?
Well, and it makes you think, like, how many more would he have gotten?
It makes you think, how many people exist like that right now? Like, how many people in the grocery store out of 100 are like, yeah, cool, I'll go rape and kill people?
Would agree to just go murder someone with you if you just, like, hypothetically threw it at them.
This show has terrified me into oblivion.
Yeah, truly. It really has.
Like, I can't do anything
And I mean, he was on pace to get a new accomplice every other month here. Like, he was literally just, like, stacking them up. And this was on June 1st that they had this discussion. And on June 2nd, they picked up Stephen Wells hitchhiking together. Okay. They offered him money and they said they offered him money. We will never know. That's what they say. They said he agreed to come back to the apartment. They bound him, raped him, and killed him by strangling him. He was found the following day on June 3rd with signs that he had been viciously beaten in his face, and his cause of death was ligature strangulation. Now, what's crazy, so the day that these two, James Monroe and William Bonin, pick up Stephen Wells hitchhiking and do this, that was June 2nd, the police had actually begun surveillance on Bonin on that day.
The day that he was found?
Because on June 1st... that was when they were talking to William Pugh, and that's when they got all this information. So by June 2nd, they started the surveillance, and that was the same day that he picked up Stephen Wells, but they had started the surveillance either like right after it.
Dude, this really does mirror John Wayne Gacy.
It really does.
Craziest ways.
Literally 24-hour surveillance was started the same day he killed Stephen Wells.
That's wild.
They just happened to miss him. Like, that's nuts.
But, like, surveillance means you don't miss something.
Like, yeah, you're not supposed... Like, the whole point of it is that you, like, don't miss
You, like, get everything.
Yeah.
You, like, surveil.
Like, quick tip for next time.
Just write that down.
Surveillance means you watch them.
Forever.
A lot.
For the whole time.
24 hours.
Thank you.
Like, please. So June 11th, they were following him because he's on surveillance.
It's already June 11th at this point and they don't have anything.
June 11th, and because I think he had, like, laid low for a few days.
I wonder if he started catching on to it.
He might have. They said they didn't know if he knew or not, but this kind of makes me think that he didn't. So,
okay.
June 11th, they were following him in an unmarked car, and he was alone in his murder van. Okay. He's just driving around through Los Angeles, literally prowling the streets, staring at boys on the side of the street. They watched from the unmarked police car as he stopped and talked to 5 different boys, trying his best to get them into his van. They all refused. Who knows if they found something off about him or they just didn't need a ride, but those 5 got away. They were behind him and followed him the whole time until he pulled into a parking lot. And there, he managed to lure a 17-year-old boy named Henry into his van. Mm-hmm. Now, they kept following him to another place because they're like, oh,
where's he bringing Henry?
So they're following him, but they don't want to, like, attack right away because what could happen to Henry? So they're like, they got to play it right.
You don't want, like, a hostage situation.
Exactly. So they follow him to a more secluded area where he had parked the van, and they hear struggling and screaming inside the van. So they descend upon the van. Like, they are just like, we got to go in there. When they break in there, Bonin was literally raping Henry.
Oh, God.
And they grabbed him immediately. Now, inside the van, they found all the tools used by Bonin and his accomplices. They found a lot of blood stains all over the interior. The inside of the glove box, they found the scrapbook with all of the articles cut out.
It was in the car?
In the glove box. In the glove box. So it was pretty clear to them who they had caught here.
Yes.
Like, he literally had a scrapbook that was like, hello, I'm the Freeway Killer.
Wow.
Yeah. The boy survived,
Thank
luckily,
God.
but was obviously traumatized physically and emotionally from the whole ordeal. He was taken to the hospital, checked out. He was released.
Okay.
Bonin was arrested immediately, and he was interviewed by John St. John several times. Now, each time, he said he had absolutely nothing to do with the murders. He didn't even own any of the things in the van. He said,
what's all the blood about in your van, though?
He said, I know who does own everything in that van, and I know who did do all this.
It's your van, sir.
But he said, I was sworn to secrecy not to tell, and I was threatened that if I told, he would come for me next.
I'd be like, okay, cool. Well, you're going to prison anyway because we literally caught you raping a child. So you can go ahead and keep your secret, but like we're going to get you eventually.
Well, finally, he was like, okay, at first he's like, no, all those knives belong to the real killer and I'm not the real killer. So finally, once they like, you know, prodded a little bit more, he moved that lie to say he was actually helping the real killer. But again, it was because he was being threatened with his own life. And oops, that 17-year-old that I was caught raping, that's not my fault either. I was doing what he told me to do.
Oh.
Yeah.
You just rape people because other people say so. Okay.
Now, luckily, none of this is working, obviously.
No, because the police are like,
know.
It's like that TikTok sound that you're like,
yeah, it's literally like
come on.
They knew this was a story and that this guy was the Freeway Killer. They had blood, semen, and fiber and hair evidence at this point now that confirmed him as the killer.
A scrapbook in a van registered to you, sir.
Now, the van had green carpet fibers, and these fibers were found on a ton of the victims, and they were able to match them.
Oh, that's terrible.
And the blood and semen that they found on some of the victims at the crime scenes in the van, inside of him, all matched. So they were like, dude, we got you.
You're dumb.
So now they're like, how do we get him to confess? We got to get this asshole. Because he's like a stone wall right now. He's like, nope, didn't do it.
With
Don't know what to tell you.
Stupid mustache.
So they had to like circumvent his story a little bit, like this whole like I'm just a victim attitude, and find a way to appeal to anything else.
They had to like play with it.
Now, initially, they thought that this whole thing worked because he had like a shred of humanity inside of him, but we find out later what the real reason was this worked. And let me just tell you right ahead of time, it's not because he gives... Yeah, I just want you to know that.
I didn't really get that vibe from him overall.
So John St. John sat down to interview him, and he said he sat in front of him silently, and they just stared at each other.
That is my worst nightmare.
He then said so the detective just placed a folded piece of paper in front of him, just like slid it over to him. Didn't say a word.
Like a movie.
He was like, I totally did it just like that.
He was like, this is too much, but I did it.
After a second or two, Bonin picked it up, read what was on the paper, and then slid it back over to him. And he said, I'm ready to confess.
What did the paper say?
That paper was a letter, and it was written by a mother of one of the victims who had not yet been located, but was tied to him. His name was Sean King, and he was a known victim, but they just didn't have his body. So the letter was his mother begging Bonin to just tell her where her son's remains were so that she could bury them properly and give him respect. It worked.
So he did have like a little shred?
No.
Because he didn't tell her where he was.
Well, just hold on to it. Hold on to that thought that he might have a little bit of shred, because later he tells you exactly why he did what he did, and I'll get to it. Don't worry.
Come on, man.
I'm gonna let you think for a second that maybe he was like, you know what?
Well, now I know that he didn't, so I'm just like, I'm trying to think of why not. But go ahead, go off.
He said, I'm ready to say that he was ready to say that he abducted, raped, beat, tortured, and murdered 21 boys.
Wow.
Then he dropped a bomb. That's when he said, oh, by the way, I'm in the business of doing this with 4 other men.
Yeah.
So the police had always wondered how one guy was doing all of this, but they definitely didn't think it was like this. They did not think there was 4 other people that had been doing this.
No, this is like the Ridgeway killers, too.
Yeah, and of course he's sitting there and... Wait, the who?
No, I said the Ridgeway. I meant the Chicago Ripper crew.
Yes, you're right.
But then I think, what did I morph that with?
Gary Ridgway.
Thank you.
The Green River Killer. Because for a second I was like, yes.
You were like, yeah. No, who's that? The Ridgeway. I'm leaving.
I just blew through it. I was like, yeah.
Yes. Wait, what?
No. Like, should I know that killer?
I should do that other times with like crazy. Different things.
Okay. So yeah, the Ripper, you're right though.
Yeah, right. The Ripper crew.
Is. Now, of course he says, you want to know who they are? I'll let it all out.
Okay.
So he's like, I'll let you know who they are. They are William Billy Pugh. He's 19 years old. And then they said Vernon Butts, 22. Gregory Miley, 19 years old. Oh, and James Monroe. So he said Vernon Butts was really the main one who helped him the most, and he was correct. He said Vernon had literally had a hand in a lot of the cases, like literally done the things that he had done. And he said he hurt the boys or killed some of them himself. He was the one that was mainly in it. When he gave interviews to the media after they announced that he was the guy, because as soon as he was announced as the Freeway Killer, he immediately was like, I will give interviews to the media. Sure.
Oh, of course.
Let's talk about it.
Why do you think that they were like, they like totally pinned it on him and not 5 of them collectively?
I mean, they all get pieces of it.
Okay.
But they were able to determine that he killed alone a lot of times.
Okay.
He did kill alone.
Okay.
And they were able also to determine that he was the main aggressor. And they were idiots that were with him.
Just there.
But they were also monsters themselves, just in a different way.
Okay.
Now, when he gave these interviews to the media, he basically was like, I don't feel bad. I have zero remorse. I like killing, and that's why I do it. And he told them at one point, like, I am addicted to it. It's like a drug to me. I need it all the time. And sometimes I need more because it's just not doing the job.
Wow.
Like, was very open, like, let's talk about it. And he actually was quoted as saying, quote, sometimes I'd get tense and think I was going to go crazy if I didn't get some release. Like my head would explode. So I'd go out hunting. Killing helped me. It was like needing to go gambling or getting drunk. I had to do it.
No, it's very different.
It's very different. Very different. He actually spoke to one reporter named David Lopez and gave a very extensive interview. And he told him things like he liked the sound that dying kids made.
What?
He also told him he was scared of getting the death penalty. He didn't want to die. And he told him he only told the police where Sean King's body was and only confessed after that because the police promised him a hamburger and he was really hungry. So that whole thing about, like, I read the letter and felt something for that. No, he was just really hungry, and they said, we'll give you a hamburger if you tell us. And he was like, okay.
I don't
Yeah.
have any
Yeah.
words.
I had
I
nothing.
wish that you guys could see my face right now.
It's literally, it's befuddled, I would say.
A hamburger.
A hamburger. He wanted a hamburger, and they offered him one, so he said, okay.
You know what they should have done? They should have offered him said hamburger and then had him confess.
And then eaten it in front of him.
Thank you. That is actually precisely what I was
Yes.
going to say.
Yeah.
They all should have, everybody in the police department at that point should have collectively gone into the room with like 5 gajillion hamburgers and just
eaten them.
salivated over them.
Yeah. That would actually be hilarious.
Let's
to just completely surround him with, like, Big Macs and just sit there and all eat them.
Be like,
and
do you
all
want to
talk about how good they
no.
were.
Do you want some? No,
They should
sorry, I
just
don't think
be-
you'd like it.
Just sit around him and be like, man, it's that Big Mac sauce, isn't it? It tastes so good.
I love
Something about these.
hamburgers.
Oh, is it the pickles that taste different? I don't know. William, what do you think?
Should
I
we get-
forgot. You don't have one.
Should we get more of these guys?
Yeah, let's get more.
Like,
Let's
why
get
didn't-
more and just throw them out.
Why didn't they do that?
Yeah, they should have.
Oh,
But
never throw out a hamburger.
either way, that's why he did that.
Wow.
It was not the letter from Sean's grieving mother.
That's horrible, and I hope that she didn't know that.
Yeah,
I hope she never had to
exactly.
hear that piece of information.
Well, he also told a story about punching a boy in the throat so many times that he eventually killed him with that method alone. By just punching someone in the throat over and over.
God.
Yeah. Another quote from one of his interviews is, quote, they were trying to stop me from stabbing them and I would just stab. Just stab. I stuck them in different places with the knife because I didn't know where to stab, you know? I didn't know where the vital organs are or anything like that.
Okay.
That's him talking about just stabbing someone to death. That he was like, I don't know. I didn't know where anything vital was, so I just stabbed around until I found something.
That's
And then when you hear because I heard the audio of it, he is so dead.
just like cavalier.
Just, I don't know. Like when he says it, he's like, you know, I didn't know where the vital organs were, like anything like that. Just like he's talking about a grocery list or something. Just
It's
like
so
very whatever.
like even like Ed Kemper though, like talking about like literally brutally murdering people, and he just says it like, oh yeah, and then I went to the grocery store and I bought 3 apples to make an apple pie.
One of the scariest ones is Dennis Rader when he's confessing in court. If you watch that,
Yep.
that's one of the scariest, the most clinical, most removed confession I have ever seen.
It's so scary.
And he rattles it off like it happened yesterday. He can remember every detail.
Oh,
of
of
his
course,
thing.
because he like
Yeah.
ugh.
Wild. So
All of them suck so hard.
yeah. So they were able to use this evidence that they had to officially connect him to 16 murders. That's what they were able to like officially connect him to with the evidence. And that's what they charged him with initially for trial. They did believe he did the full 21 and that he was actually responsible for committing at least another 15 on top of it.
I was going to say, because when I looked him up, it said that he was believed to do like 36 or something like
he
that.
was at least 21 that they could definitely say he did, but I think they only had the real concrete evidence for the 16, but then 15 more on top of the 21.
Wow.
And what is really is that he was never able to be officially linked to Moore because they didn't have his DNA on file anymore.
Why?
His DNA is gone. Evidence was destroyed and lost, and they can't.
Oh, and he's dead now.
And he's dead. So
That's
they can't go
fucked.
back and link him.
That's
with DNA at least. Now,
how do you lose that DNA?
Honey, we are talking about a specific department here.
The Lapida.
No, they had to extradite James Monroe back to California because he had actually skipped town.
Of course
But
he did.
He was an idiot and they caught him immediately. And he denied everything, but they were able to charge him with at least the murder of Stephen Wells. Because he was around for that one. I think that is the only one he was around for, but they were able to charge him with it. Now, July 25th, they were able to search Vernon Butts' home. And they found evidence to connect him to at least 6 of the murders.
Wow.
He's an idiot. He was arrested promptly, of course, and he said he was there for a lot of the killings, but he did not actively participate, and he didn't want to.
You just wanted to be there.
He was just there.
Okay.
And he said Bonin threatened his life. They're all telling the same story, and that's why he did it. And now this story shifted in a ton of ways, because he said he had no hand in the torture, rape, or murders. He said he was just there. Then he said, okay, maybe I hit a couple of them, but I didn't rape or murder them. Then he said, okay, I did rape some of them, but no, I didn't murder them. Then he said, just kidding. I actually did torture one victim completely, but I did not kill him.
And then he
said, actually, nope, I just drove the van around the towns and cities while Bonin was in the back doing literally everything himself. So I take it all back. I didn't do anything. I just, beep, beep, I just drove the van.
And then he said,
nothing.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
So he ended at the beginning.
Full circle.
Again. Yeah.
Full circle. You actual
So they were
moron.
hate you so much. They also picked up Gregory Miley and discovered he was suffering from at least some kind of mental illness. They never released what. I don't know if he was ever diagnosed with anything. I think they just basically said that he was not of completely sound mind.
But did he get charged?
He did get charged.
Oh, okay.
And he did not get an insanity plea. He didn't, nothing like that.
Oh, okay.
So it's in every report I saw, so I felt it was important to put out there. But again, there is no diagnosis. It was not used to put him in a hospital or anything, so I don't know exactly what it was.
I mean, murdering people makes you pretty mentally ill. So.
It certainly does. So I'm not exactly sure, but he did eventually plead guilty to his involvement. Now, in January 1981, Bonin had a hearing, like just one of the preliminary hearings, and he pled not guilty.
Why? You already confessed.
So everybody was like, what? Because he talked to the press. He admitted everything. Right. And now he's pleading not guilty.
How
I think
does
he
that
was
work?
just being a dick. I don't know. And the same month, January 2nd, Vernon Butts was arraigned, and he pled not guilty as well. But then 4 days after that, he hung himself with a towel in his cell.
Wow.
And he was killed. Yeah. So that tells you everything you need to know about his involvement. Now, Bonin went to trial on November 4th, 1981. Now we only have Pugh, Miley, and Monroe left as the accomplices, and Pugh has given information, so he's got a little bit of a different deal here.
Right.
So the prosecution had Miley and Monroe on their side to testify against Bonin.
Okay.
They told everything.
Yeah, saying
like canaries. Details about each murder and how Bonin loved it and enjoyed the pain and torture of it all. They said he would take what little money these victims had in their pockets, and Bonin would buy like fast food burgers with it and eat them sitting next to their bodies in the van.
What?
And he would randomly, like, while he was eating a burger, he'd be like, thanks, Sean, wherever you are.
Oh
like he would
God.
say like that, like he thought it was hilarious.
What is wrong with this guy?
And both of them, both Miley and Monroe, said they can still remember the sounds of bones breaking when these boys would be strangled with the tire iron, because they said he would literally crush their necks. And they both were able to say what these victims said in their last moments. They also confirmed that some of the boys' genitals had been removed and tossed into fields.
Jesus.
People in the courtroom literally got physically sick.
I'm sure they did.
They were running from the courtroom at times. Like, people would just have to run out of the courtroom because it was that graphic of testimony.
Yeah.
Now, the defense had a tough job.
You don't say.
Being the defense attorneys of William George Bonin is probably not awesome. He had fired his original lawyer, the court-appointed one, and he hired William Sharvett and Tracy Stewart. They knew they had to at least try to say he didn't do it, but they knew this was going to be a long shot.
Especially because he had confessed to multiple media outlets and the actual police.
But they were trying to say that Miley and Monroe were not credible witnesses, but they knew that this was going to be a long shot, again, because, like you said, Bonin had told everyone in the press, basically everyone on planet Earth, that he did it, that he liked it, that he didn't feel bad about it.
And they also caught him in the middle of abducting and raping somebody.
Yeah, and he'd already been caught for raping other boys.
Right.
And, like, let go. So it was also brought up that he, that this was going to be tough to say it's not him, because he used this very unique and specific, it's called the windlass method of strangulation, for more than 6 of the cases in front of them that day.
Is that when he did the
a windlass, I guess, is a mechanism or machine used to crank rope or cable. So it tightens the rope or cable, and it's like a garrote in a way, or like how Bonin would use a t-shirt and a tire iron to strangle the victims, because he'd use the tire iron to like tighten the thing. So that signature really hurt him. Yeah. Like, that was definitely tied back to him. But they figured if maybe they could really hammer in that horrific childhood angle, that they could at least get some mercy and at least stop the death penalty, which is what they were asking for him.
Okay.
And they were like, that's really all we can do.
Yeah.
Now, they brought in a child psychologist, and this child psychologist said it was clear that because of his horrific abuse he had endured as a child, that he was not able to distinguish between love and violence. And they said he was only shown abuse and aggression. He was never shown love, never shown safety, so he doesn't know what that is. Mm-hmm. But the prosecution brought in a psychologist who said, yeah, sure. I've also talked to him as an adult, and he's a legit sadist, and he just likes to hurt boys. He was not remorseful because he said he liked it, and he didn't care that it was wrong, but he knew it was. So he is able to distinguish between right and wrong, and he does know that love exists. He just doesn't care. He doesn't want it. And again, they were like, sure, he has a horrific childhood, but they came forth again and said, so do a lot of other people, and they don't do this. It's not an excuse.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry.
Right.
Like, sure, we can feel bad for him as a child. Not now. They also put David Lopez on the stand. He was that reporter that when William Bonin really gave the really horrific details to. And he went on that stand and he told them everything that he told him, that he loved the sounds of kids dying, not giving about the letter from Sean King's grieving mother, punching a kid in the throat until he died, and being scared to die himself. Apparently all of that worked. Because January 6, 1982, he was found guilty of 10 counts of murder. They couldn't get him on 2 of the counts of murder that they were charging him for in this jurisdiction. So he only got the 10. But then he was found guilty of 4 more in another county. So there was another whole trial, and he was found guilty of 4 more.
Okay.
So he ended up being found guilty of 14 out of the 16 that they tried him of. He was sentenced to death, and he would never be remorseful even for a second. He consistently said he was not sorry. He would have continued to kill if he didn't get caught, and his only regret was that he was caught and that he had to stop.
Wow.
And he was on death row for 14 years. He literally wrote to victims' families and told one mother how much he loved killing her son because of the screams he made.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Why are we not scanning the letters that William Bonin is writing?
I have no idea how these got out, but he was able to contact these people.
That is the most thing I've ever... you're sitting in prison.
Yeah.
And we're not going to just, peek through your mail really quick just to make sure that you're not doing something like that?
I have no idea, but that, to me, it just seals the deal for him.
Because they flick through the mail that they're receiving to make sure there's not, any kind of craziness in there. Yeah. But you can't look through the mail or you don't even have to look at it. The fact that he's sending a family member a letter. Mm-hmm. Nope.
Well, think about Kenneth Bianchi. He was able to send, what's her name?
Victoria.
I was like, what's her name?
No, Veronica.
Veronica Compton.
Yeah.
He was able to send Veronica Compton crime scene photos and another,
right. And like a detailed plan to like help him get out of prison.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, we should probably figure that out as well while we're here.
Yeah, that's something we should all be on top of. But yeah, that happens. So he's a demon.
That's horrific. I'm so sorry for those parents.
Oh, I can't even fathom. And he made a ton of appeals, but they were all denied. The last one.
You think we're going to let you out after you told us? You're writing to parents that you love the sounds that their dying children made, and you're going to have the balls to file an appeal at the same time?
I can tell you with like if somebody wrote me a letter and said that, there would not be a safe place on planet Earth for them.
Not even prison.
Not even prison. I'm like, you think you're safe in there?
Haha.
Like, that's wildly horrific. I can't.
I don't even want to put myself in that headspace.
So his last appeal was denied an hour before he was executed.
What? Like, come on.
I know. It's ridiculous. But let's bring us to February 22nd, 1996. That is the day before his scheduled execution. He gave one final interview and he said, you know what? And this was totally just to be a dick. He was like, you know what? I'm fine with dying now. Like the day before, he's like, I've made peace with it.
Yeah,
I was like, all right.
Probably shaking in your boots, buddy.
And for even more reasons to hate this creature, he said in this final interview that even though the victims' families believe they're going to get closure and peace with his execution, they wouldn't. And that made him happy.
What?
Yep. Literally was like, I know you think you're going to get some kind of peace because I'm gone, but you won't. And that makes me happy.
So far, he is one of the, like, he is like top three most evil.
He truly is.
I don't think we've ever covered a case where they've like taken their last moments to say that to the families.
Right?
I can't think of one right now.
I can't think of one. Especially, this one just really, really cut me to the core when I was reading
asshole. Like, there's not even a word.
He's an asshole.
He
like,
is.
Truly.
Just an asshole.
Yeah. Now, for his last meal, I'm always interested in last meals. I'm just like, I feel like I have to say them when I find them.
Yeah.
Especially when they're like, wow, you ate all that before you died? No, that would be crazy. But actually, he asked for 2 large pepperoni and sausage pizzas, 3 pints of coffee ice cream, and 3 6-packs of regular Coke.
He didn't eat all of that, did
he? He drank a lot of the Coca-Cola.
I just don't understand why you would want to go out, like, feeling horrible.
Because you're going to die. So they're like, you might as well.
I'd like to fill
you up.
Somewhat good.
Would you?
When I die?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad I'm not in this position, so.
Well, I was going to say, I'd never be in the position of, like, lethal injection, luckily.
But it's always, like, amazing to me what people will choose to eat at their last meal. Like 3 pints of coffee ice cream? Like, I like coffee ice cream.
Not even like mint chocolate chip?
That's the thing. It's like I like
dough?
coffee ice cream. Like, I think it's fine. Like, hi, coffee ice cream. I'll eat you if you're there.
In a pinch.
My last meal? I'm not asking for 3 actual pints of coffee ice cream.
And like,
you think you'd vary it.
And like, the dairy.
The dairy.
Like
so
2
much dairy.
pizzas and 3 pints of ice cream.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I hope he felt like shit.
Garbage.
I hope he felt like an actual garbage truck.
Like hot garbage.
And it's pretty safe to say he did, so we can all take some kind of like comfort in that.
I do.
Now, that while he was there, while he's like nomming on his gross last meal.
Do you know how long they give you for your last meal?
I don't know exactly how long they give you.
I wonder if there's like an allotted
really eat it fast
amount of time.
I don't know, actually. That's a good question. I guess the warden also came by and chatted with him for up to an hour. Ooh. And he was able to come out of there and say, I can confirm that the Freeway Killer is dying without one shred of remorse.
Wow.
And on February 23rd, the next day, 1996, the year that Ash came into this beautiful world.
4 months until me.
So this guy went out and Ash came in.
Good replacement, I think.
I think so. I would much rather take that. Now, Bonin was executed by lethal injection. He was 49 years old. And he was the first person to be executed by lethal injection in California history.
Wow.
Isn't that
I did
interesting?
not know that.
Yeah, they were using the gas chamber before this.
Oh.
And then it was ruled like cruel and unusual. So people that were there were families of the victims, some of the investigators, and also David, the boy we talked about in the very beginning, who was abducted and raped and he just dropped him off after trying to kill him.
And he said, we'll meet again.
And he said, we'll meet again.
Little did he know it'd be there.
He was there to see him. And it's like, yeah, we met again.
While you were dying.
Yeah. And David like really went through it like after that. And
of course he did.
But David got his life on track and he like powered through it.
Good for him.
And last I read about him, he's doing great. So like, good job, David.
Good.
Now, William Bonin's last words were,
God.
I feel the death penalty is not an answer for the problems at hand. I feel it sends the wrong message to the people of this country. Young people act as they see other people acting instead of as people tell them to act. I would advise that when a person has thought of doing anything serious against the law, that before they did, they should go to a quiet place and think about it seriously. So he was basically being like, if you want to break the law, you should probably think about it because getting caught sucks. That was essentially his last
really
words.
good translation.
That was pretty much it.
Yeah.
Now, his family did not come to this execution and they did not claim his body. No one he knew would claim that body. So,
I mean, they also didn't show up for him in his real life, so.
Yeah, and he had like siblings. He had extended family.
Yeah, I meant like
did.
his parents
Like,
didn't
yeah,
show up for him.
no one, I wouldn't expect them to come, but like, I didn't know if somebody would come, but good for them for not coming.
No.
But nobody claimed the body, so the state has the body cremated in that scenario, and his ashes were actually scattered in the Pacific Ocean.
Why would they do that?
Which I was like, gross.
Yeah, no.
Wow.
The Pacific Ocean never asked for that.
No, it didn't. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
Now, as for his accomplices, 2 of them died. Now, Vernon Butts hung himself while waiting for trial, and Gregory Miley was actually killed in 2016 while he was serving his sentence in Mule Creek State Prison. That's in California. He, I guess, was killed by another inmate in the yard. And I guess he was attacked. Then they put him back in he was like looked at medically. Then they brought him back to his cell and he was found unconscious and then brought into the hospital and he died.
Yikes.
So, bye. Now, James Monroe, who was convicted, remember, of killing Stephen Wells, he is currently serving 15 years to life for second-degree murder. And he actually asked to, like, he wrote into the governor and whoever else is in charge and asked to be executed.
Interesting.
And they were like, nah.
Like, that's not how that works.
It's like, honey, no. Like, now I want you to serve forever because you are clearly miserable and that's
You're,
what
like,
you
trying
deserve.
to get out of this.
Now, William Pugh was sentenced to 6 years for voluntary manslaughter. Because remember, he struck the deal.
I was like, what?
He was freed from prison after serving only 4 years in 1985. So the year I was born, he got out of prison.
Wow.
He's now just out living.
No, like, parole or anything?
No, he's just out. It was in 1985, so he's just... Who knows if that's even his name now?
I'm like, do we keep tabs on him?
Not real sure.
Or...
Not real sure. I'm hoping he
was there for, like, a good
gets
amount
it
of
together.
them. Him and Butts were, like...
I mean,
seemed to be
Vernon
there the
Butts was
most.
really, like, the guy. And Gregory Miley was definitely, like, way more brutal and hands-on than this guy. William Pugh,
He was
I think,
young, too.
He was young, and he was definitely there, like, bad. But I don't think he was as hands-on as the rest of them. And then he did get that deal because he gave him up. But that is the end of the William Bonin story. He's dead. 2 of them are dead. One of them's out. You know, the other one's still in jail.
Wow.
So
That's
where we are.
That was the most.
It was the most. It definitely was the most.
You did the most.
I did.
One.
I did the most. This one, when I saw it, I was like, sorry, what?
Yeah. I have to tell you, like, my case this week is also the most. Like,
yeah. I think you
so-
mentioned what your case was, and I was like,
Yeah, I did tell you.
But I haven't looked it up.
Okay, cool.
I remember, like, I knew about...
I think we watched
I was
going to
say,
together.
you and I, like, saw something about it, but I don't remember details, so I'm like...
It's weird because I didn't remember details either. It was like one of the cases on the like suggest a case form requested a lot, and then I started going through it and I was like, oh,
And you're like, oh no. Yeah. So get ready for that.
Morbid
and
week.
there's also I have like kind of a I'm an interesting Patreon. I couldn't speak. Sorry, I just had a moment.
I was like, what am I
trying to say? I have a very interesting Patreon bonus episode that I'm cooking up. So look out for that, Patronuses.
It's a cool one.
And yeah, sorry. But sorry I introduced this into your brain.
But we do hope that you keep listening.
We do, and we hope you
keep
it weird.
There's nothing in this story that I feel personally obligated to tell you to not keep it that weird.
Yeah, you know.
This is all very, very much in your brain to not keep it that weird.
No one keeps it as weird as William Bonin.
No.
It's
not weird. It's not even the word for it. So just keep it weird.
Bye.
The end.
If you like Morbid, you can listen early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.